Greetings, everybody. This is Reverend Chris. It is Monday, March 2nd of 2020, and this is our weekly edition of Angels at 40,000 Feet, where I bring in a reading for what's predicted and forecast to take place over the next week for us to be aware of, to be looking for, and to understand at whatever level we are meant to understand at. And we go through that with the reading. So let's go ahead and get started. Last week, there were two things that stood out in the reading. One was something big was coming. And then the last card had to do with holding back, holding the line, and then stuff, you know, it's like the frozen over river and the current running under the river. So there was a lot going on beneath the surface. So the big thing that was coming, and I'll be honest, all week long I kept saying, there was a lot happened last week, but it was like, what is the big thing that's happening? And it took me until, really the end of the week, which was yesterday, for me to put it all together. And it wasn't like one big event thing. And my interpretation that this had to do with the elites was correct. But what it was about was all of the CEOs resigning, stepping down last week. Biggies like Bob Iger at Disney, and we have, I can't remember how many of them there were. Iger is the one that stands out to me, right at the top. But a lot of big CEOs stepped down. They left, resigned. And if we take that and we look at that as there's something going on here, these things don't happen by accident. There's reasons that these people are getting out of Dodge. And why is it that this is happening? All goes back to that frozen on the surface, looking like there's nothing happening, but a ton of stuff going on under the surface. So those resignations are a huge sign of things going on. We can't understand what it all is about. Like I said last week, we're going to say, what's going on here? What do we do with this? And we don't know yet exactly what it's all about, but there's a lot of stuff going on beneath the surface that is causing these things that we're seeing. So now we're going to move into this next week. And of course, we were also asked to, keep our open, step back, have patience, and hold the line without getting impatient. So this week, I have, I pulled from another deck, which is, this is called the Wisdom. Hang on a second. I'm going to run and get it because I want to show you this. I want you to know. Sorry about that. Okay, so the deck that I'm using this week is called Wisdom of the Hidden Realms by Colette Baron Reed. Again, the angels chose this one. And then I also was guided to pull a couple of cards, archetype cards, to talk about the overriding archetypes that are going on. So we're using two decks this week to get a better feel for what's coming and what's happening. So the first one is really interesting. And, at face value, you say, well, this is no news. Some people will say it's no news. Other people will say, what do you mean? This is the first card that comes up. the Lady of the Mirror. And this is, right, when life reflects back to us what's in here. And that's the message. We have to be really aware of what we're looking at going on globally around us is a reflection. You know, it's the mirror. We're seeing what's going on within ourselves. And it's a reflection of our beliefs. So the first thing to realize here, and there's two different schools of thought on this. There is the old school, the 3D school of thought, that you believe what you see, right? That you see something and then that causes you to believe it. Oh yeah, I believe that. Then there is the 4 and 5D knowledge, metaphysical wisdom that says, no, what you see is what you believe. So when you see something that you don't like, you have to understand that that is a reflection of your own beliefs. What can you change in your belief set to change what you're seeing in the physical plane? Right? We are creator beings. We were made that way. We are of divine source. And we are creating our reality. And that's going to come up to us big time this week is, you know, in the mirror. We're going to be seeing all kinds of stuff in the mirror from different perspectives. Those of us who are seeing in the metaphysical perspective will see one thing and we'll be looking at it and saying, And we'll be either be going, or yes, or whatever. And then the other side of the coin will be looking in the mirror and saying, oh no, you got to change that. That can't be. That's wrong. That's awful. Not realizing that they're ones creating it. All right. They're creating what they're seeing in the mirror. And there's a lesson in that. You know, they're going to have to start learning that there is self-responsibility for what we see in that mirror. You know? So the other side of this, all right, remember, there's the short term. You see what you believe, not believe what you see. That does not work. That's a 3D false light Illuminati corrupted version of how it works. Now, the other part of this is the message that all of our belief sets and systems are recorded in and exist in the collective unconscious. And when a belief system or set of beliefs becomes so prevalent, you know, becomes prevalent in the collective unconscious, it becomes the primary model or template that gets embedded in our morphic fields. That we, once this, you know, it just like keeps on catching, you know, like if you think about dominoes going down, you know, as you keep, you know, one after another, after another, after another, after another. And if you think about the beliefs and the way of seeing things and opening up to things and awakening, all happening in the collective unconscious, that once that gets delivered into the morphic field, it is like those dominoes. One false belief after another goes down, or maybe not false, maybe just everybody gets brought on board with what that prevalent belief is. And at this time, what's being fed into the collective unconscious is the Great Awakening. It's freedom, soul freedom, mental freedom, all right? Freedom to come down here and to be and to create as we were meant to do. That's the Great Awakening, right? The Great Awakening, and then, you know, the concurrent ascension into our true state of being as we were intended to be, as our true state of creator beings, with none of the blocks and locks and cages that have been put upon us by Team Dark. You know, the dark forces, the Cabal, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, that's been in charge of this planet for so many eons. That's all breaking up. So the major influence in the collective unconscious has already tipped over, so that this, you know, the awakening codes and the freedom codes, the ascension codes are all being delivered into our morphic fields as that primary template to be adapted to. So what happens when we go into one of those stages, right? We're changing from a very limited, stringent, mind-centered set of beliefs, awakening into a whole new world, seeing truth, removing limits, having freedom to think for ourselves, not being told what to think. So it's a sea change. And all of us who have been walking, or maybe stumbling through, or sometimes crawling through this awakening path, know that anytime we have one of these sea changes come in, when something comes in and challenges our whole way of being, there's a lot of disruption comes into play. And so that's what the other purpose of this going on here is, for us to be seeing what's coming up to be released. You know, the old stuff that we believed in is somehow not satisfying us anymore. We're looking at that and saying, whoa, I don't think so. That doesn't sound so good. No, we're going to change the way we think about that. We're going to adopt different beliefs. That's not working for me anymore. As this gets mirrored to us in the external world, we're going to start thinking about all of the things that need to be changed because they aren't working for us anymore. Systems, whole systems. We're going to say, whoa, we've got to change the way we're approaching this because it's not working. You know, the belief system that created it isn't working for us anymore. So there's a lot of things that you're going to start seeing coming out globally. Just keep your eyes peeled and your antenna out for them, and you'll be able to see them as they appear. Some of them are meant for you. Some of them are not. But you can still see the ones that are meant for other people and organizations and things, and how that, you know, how that sea change and that revolution is occurring. Revolution, evolution is happening. So that's the first card. The second one is the Aeromaster. Now, this card comes to us as a challenge this week, and feeds and follows right on this card. So what this one is talking about is, for us, right, the Aeromaster is the one who, you know, always hits the target. But the challenge part of this for us this week is to start examining our motives, right, in regards to the target we're trying to hit. Is that the right target for us to hit? Why are we aiming there? What do we really hope to accomplish by aiming our intentions and our work and all of this here and our efforts? Is it really going to get us what we want? Is it going to benefit us at the expense of others? Right? Because the Great Awakening is an inclusive thing, right? We're not supposed to be saying, oh no, I get, but you don't, and I don't care because I got what I want. It has to be, win-win situation. So is that what we're setting our sights on? Are we just saying, okay, are we being divisive still, good guy, bad guy? Or are we aiming our sights on creating, targeting something that is going to benefit all, right? Another part of that evaluating what's showing in the mirror to us is what the Aeromaster card is about. We could be, shooting ourselves in the foot unintentionally because some part of us thinks that what we're doing has altruistic motives and we're aiming for this or that or the other thing, and wind up not being happy with the results, backfiring on us. So let's take an example of what I'm talking about. And I'm saying this is one of my pet peeves, is the environmental movement. And I have nothing against the environmental movement per se. I am totally aligned with taking care of this planet and stewarding this planet in the best and most responsible way. However, the environmental movement in itself is rife with short-sighted solutions. Right now, one of the things that just is blowing my mind is just like, really? Is the whole thing with wind turbines. Wind turbines supposed to be the big deal, right? You get wind and you get free energy and all of this stuff. And yay, we're going to go full bore for wind turbines and put all our energies into creating wind turbines and putting them up and, getting them installed and getting countries and, municipalities, states all involved with this and on board with wind turbines. Yay, wind turbines. So now what? Well, wind turbines are killing off birds like nobody's business. And like President Trump said at one point, he said, you go to the wind turbines and you look and there's piles of dead birds underneath the wind turbines. Okay. Now, and yet nobody's saying, the environmental movement is not saying peep about this, right? If anything else had been doing that to birds, they would have been all up in arms. Oh my God, we have to stop this and protect nature. No. So then that's one thing. I just saw an article online in Scotland. They clear-felled an entire 100,000 acres of trees, of forest, to put up a line of wind turbines. What? Where is the forethought? The actions have consequences, and what could be the consequences that we're not intending with this, and let's make room for that. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, right? The other thing is that now they're finding that these blades on the wind turbines that periodically have to be replaced, they can't recycle them. So they're filling up landfills. Hello? More unintended consequences because there isn't enough forethought going on to look beyond the immediate target, which is reduce pollution. And instead, there's all these other horrible environmental consequences that are happening as a result. That can't continue. We have to change the way we are looking at things and have the win-win situations to see what is going to happen. Where are we going to put these things? How are we going to, how is it going to work? We can't just go barreling in and just do whatever is new and wonderful, just like electric cars. Batteries piling up in landfills, and the mining of the lithium that goes in the batteries is horrendous and creates more problems. So there are a number of examples like this. And the environmental area is not the only one that this exists in, but it happens all the time. Social programs. Oh yeah, we want to raise the minimum wage to $15. Let's go, $15 an hour. And everybody said, you better not, because you're going to lose businesses or you're going to have people fired. So what's going on? Been to a McDonald's lately? Been to a Walmart lately? Self-checkout, baby. Computer screens and self-checkout. Our local Walmart went from 12 checkout lines with cashiers to right now, I think there are only 4 that have cashiers. Everything else, plus more, is self-checkout. I hate it. And all those cashiers that were working there lost their jobs. So let's think of the win-win solutions ahead of the game so that everybody can benefit, or at least stay in a place of stasis, not be hurt when we think of the things that we need to do and the changes that we want to make and the purpose for those changes. So this is what the Aeromaster is calling for. It's looking at the unintended consequences of hitting that mark so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and seeing this more clearly. And apparently there's something going to come up this week that's going to show us a pretty good example of that. Oof, getting a big yes on that. All right. So third card here is our beloved Phoenix, rising from the ashes. Only in this time, in this particular card, it's coming up as a challenge. So this is the phase in which the Phoenix is flaming out. And so what happens when the Phoenix flames out, right? It has to flame out so that it can reorganize and restructure and rise again in its new glorious form. So what we're being asked to do, there are massive changes going on planetary wide and within the entirety of the human population on the planet, and the all of the living, all of the life forms on the planet. There's massive change going on. The planet itself. And we're being asked not to fight it, to surrender to change, to allow what's happening to happen without fighting it. There are some things that we are really, really strongly attached to and connected to, whether it's belief systems or whether it's our, or whether it's our favorite coat, or the pair of jeans that we've had for 10 years that are falling apart in tatters, but we won't let them go. Favorite ways of doing things that we don't want to let go of. And we need to start looking at those and being willing to surrender, because we have to trust that what's coming is going to be just as good as or better than what we left behind. Think about this as you're standing, there's an earthquake. And you are bound and determined that you're not moving anywhere. You're going to stay on this spot because this is my spot. And I'm not moving for anybody. And about the time you decide that, the earth opens up and you go, you're gone. You're in that spot forever, but I'm going to tell you, you got your wish. but it isn't the way you wanted it to be. So surrender and move. Be ready to change, to go, to do what you're called on to do. Another example. All right. You're on a treasure ship hunt, right? And you find buried treasure, and it's pulled up into the boat, and there are gold ingots there, and you are gold bars, right? How much does a gold bar weigh? A lot. And you're looking at them, and you're just, oh my God, gold, gold, gold. Yes, this is worth so much. I'm going to be rich. Yes, gold, because that was your, that's your target. That's what you're trying to, and that's what you've been working on. That was your goal, is to get this, you're going to be rich. You're going to be famous, whatever it is. That was your mindset. Oh, okay. So you hit a big wave while you're holding this gold bar and you fall overboard. So then what do you do? How far do you go under the water before you decide you have to let go of that gold bar, or you're drowning? What becomes more important at that point? We have to start thinking like that. Those are extreme examples, but even in the littlest things can become extreme if we decide we're going to hang on to them for dear life. And it may be, the harder we hold on to stuff, the worse the disruption is to get us to let go of it. Period. You know what that's like. Have you ever, I'm trying to think of an example. I'm thinking of like something, like a door that's locked, right? It's jammed, and you just keep on, trying to get it open. And the more stuck it is, the harder it takes. You have to shake it in order to get it open. The more pressure you have to apply to get it to release. Whereas if the door was not locked, all you had to do is turn the handle and the knob and walk in, and you're good. You're gone. You're done. So we have to really release our resistance. We have to allow the change. That doesn't mean it's going to be pleasant. I'll guarantee you it's not all going to be pleasant. But if we can watch it with that eye from above to see what purpose this may be serving, and trust that God has got it under control, then it's going to work out a lot better in the end. So that's the message of the Phoenix for this week. Start being willing to let go and allow, because there's a lot of shaking up coming on, a lot of changes coming on, and there's a lot of that changing has to be in here. We have to change our minds, period, end of story. And our way of thinking and doing and all of that. So be open to change, whether it's your idea or somebody else's. If change has to happen, then you need to roll with the punches. Get in the rowboat and throw out the oars, and let the divine current take you where it needs to go and where you're meant to be. Sometimes that's very uncomfortable to think about doing that and to losing that control. But the control matrix is getting ready to break down too. So ride with it. All right. So in line with that, we're talking about the winged wise ones. And the message here basically has to do with all of these other three cards. Because all of this is coming in, is bringing in answered prayers. Answered prayers. Now, the thing about prayers, the funny thing about prayers is that when we ask God for something, when we pray for something, we can ask for what we want, but we have no control on how that happens. What is the process that takes place in order for us to receive whatever it is that we want, that we've been praying for? And if we try and restrict how that has to happen, we're going to limit its ability to happen. The universe is infinite, and the possibilities within the universal scheme of things is infinite. We can't even begin to imagine of all the possibilities and what could happen and where this could happen and that could happen, and what we need to do or what has to happen for us, or the circumstances that need to occur in this divine ballet, that keeps moving in and out and over and around and up and down until boom, it all comes together to bring you what you desire in absolutely a better way than you would ever have thought of having it. It's going to be better than you would ever have believed, because it is going to fit your higher needs and desires, and there's going to be joy involved in it. Universe is all about joy, right? And God, and it, trust me. So answered prayers coming in for globally and personally, answered prayers coming in. So be on the lookout for that in all kinds of different forms. And now the last card for this deck is the Eagle King. And the Eagle King in this one is an ally card. It's the positive aspect of the card. And what it's telling us in this instance is to not get bogged down in the forest, in the middle of the forest, so that all we can see is the trees, and all we can judge is the trees and see from is the trees and what's going down at this level, and get caught up in the drama of all of this. We're being reminded to be looking for the bigger picture, right? Rising up again to look for the bigger picture, so that we can stay above, right? Ride that wave again, just like last week. Ride the wave, stay on top of things, be looking at the bigger picture and how this is all playing together. If you're not seeing it as a good thing, then you're not looking from the right perspective. It may be uncomfortable, but everything that happens is happening in service to the highest good of all involved, not just you, not just me, not just the guy next door or the other guy that you work with. It's for the highest good of all. All right, win-win situations are universal currency. So remember to keep your eye and your perspective from higher up, and you will be a whole lot happier, not just in the coming week, but always. Just look for the silver lining in what seem to be those clouds, because they're, and my favorite saying that I made up a while ago, and it is so true, is that no matter what garbage life brings to you, there's always, always, always at least one gift in that garbage. Always. So look for the gift in the garbage. That's the last word on this part of the reading. Okay, so the next couple of cards are coming from the Archetype deck. And what I asked was to be shown the two, or the main, I didn't say two, I just said the main archetypes in play this week. What are the main archetypes that are in play? And so the first one that came up is the Fool. And it is the shadow attribute of the Fool that is in play. And that shadow attribute of the Fool has to do with denying the truth of your feelings, denying your feelings, denying where they're, not just that you're feeling them, but denying the true source of those feelings, the true trigger for those feelings. What is really going on that's causing you to feel the way that you do? Okay, and the Fool won't look there. The Fool doesn't go there. The Fool wants to blame everybody else for what's going on inside and why they're feeling everything. They will not take responsibility for it. And that is, the Fool archetype is coming up here big time this week, and is coming up to look at itself. Remember, we got the mirror. And so there's a lot of that happening. So the Fool archetype is one of the overarching archetypes in play this week. And the other one that's in play is the Mystic. And this is the positive light attribute of the Mystic, because the Mystic is looking at everything that happens, can see it from the divine perspective, can see the tapestry being woven, keeping in connection with divine source, riding that wave and knowing that it's all working out for the good, seeing all the nuances in everything and saying, wow, that's pretty awesome. Thank you. This is just great. I can't believe it. You just watch in awe if you're watching from the perspective of the Mystic. And the Mystic is going to have a lot going on this week to watch and to see, and to have that rolling through between now and next Sunday in all of the things that are coming up. The Mystic is going to be, in play big time. And that's part of the awakening too. I'm getting, this is all the awakening, the ascension, right? This is all that, the divine connection, and honing that divine connection. It isn't just like, divine connection with God. It's your own divine self and center, the soul connection. All of that is I'm feeling like this big whoosh, almost like the Mystic is a wind blowing in to knock the Fool off his stool, right? To knock the cap off of the dunce, or not dunce, but knock the cap and the costume and the mask off of the Fool. Is the Mystic is coming in, and the Mystic energies. I feel that. I feel that almost like a wind blowing in, going to show up big time this week. And the things that the Mystic has been concentrating on, looking at, are going to be showing up in a big way. So those of us who have been in that place and working from that point are going to be seeing things this week that truly validate the work that we have been doing, and the prayers that we have been entering, and the things that we have been desiring to happen for not just the last couple of weeks. We're talking about decades that we've been working on and putting our energy into this. So the Mystic is going to prevail, and the energies of the Mystic and the light and that divine connection are going to be knocking the mask off of the Fool. And the Fool is going to have to start getting to a place where they recognize that it's not everybody, it's nobody else's fault. They have to look here. Nobody else makes them feel whatever they're feeling. They have to own that. It's theirs, and what's lying under the surface that's causing that. So they have to start that journey. So this is awesome. So that is the totality of the reading this week. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out again, as it did last week. Right away today, I see that Hillary Clinton is now, a judge ordered her to be physically deposed, not by writing or letters or anything else. She has to be sit down and physically be deposed about the emails. So that's big. We have another thing in that someone who was a never Trumper who has converted it has now bought a controlling share in Twitter. So Twitter may be changing its tune when it comes to conservative repression and just censorship, period. There are changes going on in a lot of places there. So, already today, like I said, there's a lot of things happening that as we go through the week are going to start exposing themselves. And I'm thinking with the answered prayers, we're not, we're seeing ask for the big picture, but we're not seeing the same thing like under the surface that we were last week. So I'm thinking that some of the things that we see this week are going to be more overt and more in your face. Ooh, I'm getting a big yes on that. So thank you all once more for joining me this week. If you would like me to do a reading for you, you know where to get me. Just email me at the address below. Or contact me through Messenger or Facebook, and I will be glad to hook up with you and set a time to do this so that you can get the guidance and the information that you need for whatever it is that you have going on. It doesn't have to be one of these readings. It can be whatever, an angel reading, an archetype reading. They're all awesome. And my team always does an awesome job. And I thank you all now for being here with me. And have a great week. Love you.